Hey babies, I hope that each of you are safe. I hope you're in good spirits. I hope that you are as okay as one can possibly be considering all that is going on with our world right now. And that's, one of the conversations I had with a client today who said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not okay, but it's okay not to be okay. If you are, then you're putting on a front. You're not being your true self. You're not dealing with the emotions. And what you're going to do is go through post-traumatic stress later if you don't deal with the now that we are in." And the truth is that this is a defining moment in history that we're experiencing in our country. To start off with the pandemic, something that many of us watched in movies and thought could never happen, right? Oh, that's just in a movie. It's a sci-fi. It'll never happen. And then to find ourselves smack dab in the middle of a horror movie, right? And then for what we all witnessed on social media to happen to George Floyd, as we've witnessed over the years and we've heard about over the years, all of the horrors, the police brutality. What social media has allowed us to do is to hear it at once, hear it quickly, deal with it quickly, and be able to speak out together as a community. But now for the protests that we're witnessing, and then the brutality that continues even as the world, not just our country, not just as the U.S. shouts out no more, but the world. Did you see the video I posted of Paris? Same thing's happening in Berlin. It's happening in London. It's happening in parts of Africa. It's happening all over the world. But our news won't let us see all of that. But I want you to be conscious that we're not alone in our grief. We're not alone in our struggle. We're not alone in our anger. We're not alone in our pain. We're not alone in our growth. This moment, as wild as it is, I'm glad to be able to experience it in my life, because this is where we get to decide the what's next. And we never really get to be a part of that conversation, do we? Everybody else is always defining that for us. Our government and our senators and our mayors and everyone's defining that for us. We get to be a part of the conversation of what's next. We're fighting right now for the soul of America. What road do we want to travel down? Who do we want to be? Where do we stand? You have to stand somewhere, and in the middle is not an option. For many of you who think that you're in the safe space where you've said enough, but you're not going to say too much more to piss people off. This is where you've got to tell us where you stand. And we all got to be on the right side of history on this. Who are we going to be as Americans? What is our country going to stand for? But what our pandemic has also taught each of us is, we got to decide who we want to be individually as people. How do we want to exist? What do we want the quality of our life to be? This is just, wow. And I haven't spoken on social media and probably over a week and a half, because I just couldn't find the words. And then finally the words came to me, which is a shift. We are in the middle of the shift. I know my life has. It slowed down a bit, even when I didn't welcome it at first and I fought it. And you've seen me, when I was like, oh my God, I'm pulling out my hair and my kids and I can't. And now I am welcoming stillness. It gives me time to reflect and renew. Hopefully you have as well. I'm welcoming change. Normal, forget about it. I don't want to go back to normal. Normal is what got us here. And so what I want you to do is sound off on the what's next, on a few things. What's next for you in your life? How has this pandemic, how has this whole thing changed the shape of who you thought you were and what you thought your life was, what your priorities were? And then what's next for this country? What do we want to see from our leaders? Words. What do they need to say? They need to speak life to me. They need an action plan. And then guess what? You can't be somebody who's out there protesting, and you definitely can't be someone who's on social media complaining if you haven't even registered to vote yet. Do you understand what our ancestors had to go through just to vote, just to have the right to vote? How many people died? How many people fought? How many people were hung? How many people went through pure hell for the right to vote? And hundreds of thousands of people are talking about even sitting out this upcoming election because they don't like the options. Well, what options do we really have? Trump or no Trump? Where do you stand? Where do you stand?